Hi everyone, and welcome back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. For those of you who don't know, Cardiac Radio for Teens is a place where teens can come together with other teens to learn about Spiritist teachings and topics in a way that makes more sense to us and is more relatable to us as teenagers in today's society. Last week we started chapter 1 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, and we talked about Moses, Christ, and Spiritism, and how those were three big revelations that we see in our history, right, of Spiritism. And now we're on to the next section of chapter 1, which is the alliance between science and religion. And as I explained, the different sections have numbers within them, but it's not like a question, like when the Spirits book, it was like, question 8, but in this, it's like, this section is 8, so that if you're referring to it, you can say, chapter 1, section 8. So it's easier to refer to, but sometimes the sections are paragraphs, sometimes it's just one line that has a number, so the numbering is kind of strained in this book, but it's just so that things are easier to find. So this is section 8. Science and religion are the two levers of human intelligence, one revealing the law of the material world, the other revealing those of the moral world. But seeing that these laws have the same principle, which is God, they cannot contradict themselves. If they contradict one another, it would stand to reason that one was right and the other was wrong. However, God could not have intended the destruction of his own work. Therefore, the incompatibility that apparently exists between these two ideas prove that they have been incorrectly interpreted due to the excessive and exclusiveness on both sides. For this reason, we have a conflict that has given rise to incredulity and intolerance. So here they're bringing up the controversial thing that people always separate science and religion, right? They always keep them separate. They think the two cannot be together in one. But what they're saying is that these are both science and religion are both principles that go back to God, right? It's all God's creation. It's all his will. So why would he have two things that are destroying each other, right? If these are the things that he intended to have. So that means that, so now they're starting to say that, okay, we've just been interpreting it wrong. They shouldn't be completely separated or dramatically separated, pushed away from one another. We're just interpreting it incorrectly. So I believe they're going to tell us, we have now reached a phase upon this planet when the teachings of Christ must be completed and the intentional veil cast over some parts of these teachings lifted. A time when science must desist in its exclusive materialism, so taking into consideration the spiritual elements, when religion must cease to ignore the organic and immutable law of matter, so that both may become two forces, each leaning on the other and advancing together in mutual concourse. Then religion, no longer being able to oppose the overwhelming logic of the facts, and no longer discredited by science, will acquire an unshakable power, because it will be in agreement with reason. So here they're saying it's coming to the time, right, that we need to stop separating these two things, right? The church needs to stop being so, set in their ways and realize, okay, we can open up to the ideas of the time, like these facts. We have to, just like when the Catholic Church believed that the Earth was at the center of our planet system. They thought the Earth was at the center. But then Galileo and other astronomers and mathematicians of that time found, okay, no, the sun is at the center and we're revolving around it with the other planets. Then the church didn't want to believe that, right? They even punished Galileo. He even ended up dying in house arrest because no one wanted to hear these crazy things that he was saying. But we have to, once more and more people start realizing this, we have to take it as fact, and the church adapted to that, right? The Catholic Church doesn't think the Earth is at the center now because it's just a fact. So basically that simple example needs to happen in a broader range, right? So we need to have that. Okay, yeah, there might be some old habits that we have, but if upcoming science is showing us these new things, we need to be open to changing our ideas to these new facts, right? They're not opinions, they're facts. So we need to be open to accepting these facts. And also, science needs to not ignore the spiritual element, right? Which science usually does. Science usually only talks about what we can see right now, but science needs to start going beyond that and start touching on the spiritual element as well. And then it continues. Science and religion could not come together till this time, as they could only see matters according to their own exclusive point of views, which in turn caused them to be reciprocally repelled. Something more was needed to enable them to close the gap that separates them, something which would unite them. This missing link is contained in the knowledge of the laws that govern the spiritual world, and its relationship with the world of matter. These laws are as immutable as those that govern the movement of the planets and the existence of all beings. Once this relationship could be proved by experiments, a new light would begin to shine as faith began to be directed towards reason. Then reason, finding nothing illogical in faith, could finally defeat materialism. So they're saying that now is the time that science and religion have to come together, right? And they're saying the link that they need to come together is these laws that govern the spiritual universe, right? That we learn in Spiritism. Those laws are what is going to connect religion and science together. And once these are connected, then people will be able to appreciate science and understand the facts as well as having their faith, right? And those two will coincide, not be pushed apart. But as in many other matters, there are always those who remain behind under the general wave of movement towards progress. Progress drags them along. If they choose to resist instead of accompanying the movement, they will eventually be crushed. So after an elaboration that has lasted for more than 18 centuries, a moral revolution is now in progress, operated and directed by spirit, as humanity reaches the climax of its present potentialness and marches towards a new era. It is easy to forecast the consequences, which will cause inevitable change in social relations and be impossible to withstand, because they are determined by God and derived from the law of progress, that is, God's law. So they're saying that this is happening right now, and we're taking those steps to joining religion and science. And Spiritism, we know, has science facts, right? We're not making things up. It's things that we can prove. And so they're saying that this is science and religion are starting to come together, right? And the earth is changing. Humanity is changing. Of course, not as drastically. Of course, it's going to take a long time. But they're saying society is changing. And if people are not changing with that, or they're resisting that, then they're, like they're saying here, they're going to be crushed and they're going to have to go to a different planet to keep learning because they can't accept that. But this is something that's happening, right? Them resisting it isn't going to stop this movement, which needs to happen on Earth. And now we're on to the next section of chapter 1, which is instructions from the spirits. And the first part in this is the new era. God is unique, and Moses was a spirit whom he sent on a mission to make known his presence, not only to the Hebrews, but also the entire pagan world. The Hebrew people were God's instrument to enable him to manifest through Moses and the prophets. The vicissitudes suffered by these people were meant to attract their attention and so help disclose the existence of the divinity. So here he's saying how Moses came to show the existence of God, right? To introduce God to the people and to kind of show those people how God's laws can change and can change people and help people. God's commandments as revealed through Moses, contain the essence of the most comprehensive Christian morality. However, the biblical commentaries and annotations restrict their meaning, because if they had been put into action in all their pureness, they would not have been understood. Nevertheless, these 10 commandments have become a brilliant frontispiece and a beacon destined to light up the pathway which humanity must follow. So, again, going back to Moses' commandments that were revealed, that were God's commandments, right? That were just revealed to Moses. Saying how this, if we can follow these basic rules, then we would be so much more advanced, right? Just these basic 10 commandments that Moses gave us that seem self-explanatory, right? It's still not, we still don't follow that completely. So if we were able to follow that, it would drastically change people. And they're saying that, of course, the biblical commentaries and the biblical version is a little, dumbed down, because the people at the time needed to understand a simple version, right? So it's pretty simple, but still, even the simple rules still can apply to us today and guide us today. The morality taught by Moses was appropriate to the state of advancement of the people he proposed to regenerate. These people, who were semi-barbaric, with respects to perfecting of the soul, would not have understood that God could be worshipped by other means than Holocaust, nor that it is necessary to forgive one's enemies. From the materialistic, scientific, and artistic point of view, their intelligence was remarkable. But they were morally backwards and would never have been converted by a holy spiritual religion. Therefore, it was necessary that they be offered a semi-materialistic form of religion, as is represented in the Hebrew faith. The Holocaust spoke to their senses at the same time that the idea of God touched their spirits. So, the people at that time, again, those teachings were for the people at the time, right? And they would not accept it if some new spiritual religion came and was like, you have to believe this. They wouldn't accept that. But they were still very materialistic and scientific and artistic. So they needed something like, God gave this exactly, like something material to understand. And that's what the people at the time needed to understand those laws, because morally they weren't advanced at all, right? They were basically barbaric, they're saying here. So there's these simple 10 commandments because that's how the people of the time could start to understand those ideas and accept those ideas. Christ was the initiator of the most pure and sublime morality. That is to say, the morality of the evangelical Christian, which will renew the entire world by bringing together all mankind, turning them into brothers and sisters. It will cause charity to bloom forth in all hearts, as well as love for one's neighbor, so establishing a common solidarity between all peoples. Finally, from this morality, which will transform the whole earth, the planet will become the home of the spirit, far superior than those that inhabit it now. This is the law of progress, which will be accomplished and to which nature is submitted. Spiritism is the lever that God uses to enable humanity to advance. So, now moving on from Moses, Jesus came to, again, to help the people understand, right? And because, again, the people were a little more elevated, so they needed a new way, right? They needed something else. They needed a little bit more to understand. They didn't need just that basic 10 commandments. And they're saying those that are following Christ, they're going to renew the world, right? They're going to make everyone brothers and sisters, right? When we're all believing in those teachings. And again, it doesn't have to be in specific words, in simple words, right? Love your neighbors as yourself and God above all. If everyone could just follow that, we could all live on this earth as brothers and sisters. And that will cause the earth to evolve. And once we do these, we perform on these laws that were given to us so long ago, and we still haven't figured them out, once we do that, the earth will become an evolved place, and it will become a place for more highly evolved spirits, right? Not just the spirits that are here right now. So, and here at the end, he's saying Spiritism is the lever that he's going to use to help enable this, right? Because as we saw, just through Christ's words, not everyone's on the same page with these ideas. So he's saying, so Spiritism is a lever to help humanity advance, like some more. Be like, okay, here's some more information. Now that you evolved a little bit more, here's some more. The time has come in which moral ideas must be developed to bring about the progress determined by God. These ideas will follow the same route as that taken by the ideas of liberty, its predecessor. Do not think, however, that these developments will be effective without a fight. No. In order to reach maturity, these ideas will need discussion and conflicts so that they may attract the attention of the masses. Once achieved, the beauty and sanctity of this morality will touch all spirits, who will in turn embrace a science which will give them the key to a future life and open the doors to eternal happiness. Moses showed humanity the way. Jesus continued this work. Spiritism will finish it. So here what they're saying is that, okay, yeah, now we have Spiritism, and that's going to give even more information, but it's not going to be easy, right? You can't just get the Spirit's book and give it to everyone and everyone's going to start believing that. No, there's going to be a fight. And again, not a violent fight, and they don't mean violent fight, but they mean needs to be discussion. There needs to be conflict. There's going to be people who don't agree, who go against it. But we need to push for it, right? And develop it and show, lead by example, right? We don't have to try and convert everyone, but better ourselves, and then we'll be able to show by example, to lead by example. And this last sentence sums it up really nicely. Moses showed humanity the way, right? So Moses started to show humanity, okay, we got to get some rules here. Then Jesus continued this work. Jesus was like, okay, now you learned a little bit more. Let's add some more teachings there. And then Spiritism is going to finish it, right? Spiritism is going to take us to that end that we're evolved, or more evolved, right? So that the earth in whole is a more evolved place. Once in his underlying charity, God permitted man to see the truth piercing the darkness. That day was the advent of Christ. After that living light was gone, the darkness returned. Having been given the alternatives of truth or obscurity, the world once again lost itself. Then, similar to the prophets of the Old Testament, the spirits began speaking, and finally gave warning that the world is trembling on its very foundations, and thunder will resound. Remain steady. Spiritism is of divine order because it is based upon the actual laws of nature, and you may be certain that everything of a divine nature has a great and useful objective. Your world was losing itself yet again because science, developed at the cost of all that is moral, was only inducing you to material well-being, resulting in benefits for the spirit of darkness. 18 centuries of blood and martyrs, and still Christ's reign has not yet come. Christians return to the teacher who wishes to save you. It is easy for those who believe and who love. Love fills one with indescribable happiness. Yes, my children, the world is shaking, as the good spirits have repeatedly warned. Bend with the wind that announces the storm, so that you are not thrown down. That is to say, prepare yourselves so as not to be like the foolish virgins who are taken by surprise at the arrival of their husbands. So here they're saying that even with Jesus' laws, even with all the teachings he brought, people still ignore it, right? People are still doing bad things. We're still not completely on that right path. So they're saying, so this is going to it's going to come back to us, right? Like, if we're only doing these bad things and we've lost that focus of Jesus' teachings, then the earth is kind of going down, right? Like, it's trembling on its foundation, right? The foundation is breaking because like there's nothing, right? People are only thinking about materialistic things. They've forgotten about the teachings of Christ, or even if they do remember it, they're not practicing it completely, right? So we need to put that first and know that the storm is coming, right? There's going to be change in our planet, in our society, and we need to be able to take that change, right? Bend, like they're saying, bend with the wind, because if you stand against that storm, it's gonna knock you right down. So know Jesus' teachings and keep studying, even if it seems like everyone else isn't studying their religion or Christ's teachings or anything of good positive message. You keep doing it, right? So that the storm doesn't knock you down, because the earth is going to evolve, right? That's our goal, for the planet to evolve. And if people are resisting it and not evolving at the same pace as the earth, they're gonna be moved to different planets at a less evolved planet, so that they can learn there before coming back to earth. This revolution that prepares itself is more moral than material. The great spirits, who are divine messengers, instill faith amongst you, so that you all are enlightened and zealous workers, may make their humble voices heard, seeing that all of humanity are like grains of sand, without which there would be no mountains. Thus, the word, "we are small," lacks significance. To each his mission, to each his work. Does not the ant build his republic, and the other impeccable animals raise consonants? The new crusade has begun. Apostles, do not of war, but of universal peace. Modern Saint Bernards, look ahead and march forward. The law of the world is a law of progress. So here again, they're saying that this new crusade has begun, and again, not a violent thing, right? It's one of thoughts. It's one of morals, not of material things. And it's not going to be violent, right? Because that would go against the laws that we're talking about, right? The good laws that we've been talking about. But a crusade's to get those good morals, right? To evolve the planet. And don't think that just because you're one, right, sand at the whole beach, you're one little grain of sand at the whole beach, that you're not going to make a difference, right? If everyone is a one little grain of sand and everyone makes a difference, it would impact it greatly, right? Even like the ant. An ant builds his whole republic, right? Builds his house, the town, the country, the whole planet. The ant builds, right? So that's us. We're little ants, but we have to work on our best. Not worry about anything else, but work on our best, and that will help people, right? That will inspire people to also do their best. So that's where we'll end off today, because I don't want to cut us off in the middle of talking about St. Augustine, which is the next little section. And then next week we'll continue on to chapter 2. But before we leave off, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone for today's date, May 7th. Getting results. Both tears and sweat are salty, but they render a different result. Tears will get you sympathy. Sweat will get you change. It takes a lot of energy to whine and complain about how unfair things are. Energy we are often too willing to expend. Maybe we're right. Maybe we really have been treated unfairly. Maybe someone has it in for us. Maybe it's raining on the day we wanted to go and take a picnic. We do better to figure out how to turn this situation into something positive, and we annoy our friends a lot less. If I'm tempted to complain and cry when things don't go my way, I can get myself moving instead. Do I need to work harder, try something different, or just change my plans? Chances are, what I need to do is simple and well within my control. And going along with that, as we read today in the gospel, to even if you're just one person, just do your best, right? And change yourself, and that will make all the difference. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about at all, feel free to email me at kardicradioforteens@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you right away. I'm Bia, and this has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening. This has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.